Hello, I'm Dr. Ron England, and I'm going to show you how to create a small calculator using JavaScript, and I'm particularly going to use a JavaScript tool called JSFiddle. First, I'll show you how the tool operates. If you look over here into this box right here, I've got this quadratic equation calculator, and I can say change a number for A, B, and C, and I hit update, and it will actually calculate the x and y values of the quadratic equation with the A, B, and C set. So most people will be familiar with the quadratic equation, and I'm going to show you how I created this calculator. Then first we're going to look a little bit at this framework called JSFiddle. This is actually a website, jsfiddle.net, and it does allow you to create JavaScripts that are capable of doing a lot of things. Now I'm going to expand this out so you can kind of see this a little bit better. I have, in JSFiddle, I have it set up to have 4 boxes, one with my HTML, one with my JavaScript, one over here which shows the results, and one over here which is blank right now, which shows the cascading style sheets. I am using the jQuery framework. So jQuery framework, and it allows me to choose from a lot of different frameworks here. So you can choose to have no framework. Basically, that would be just putting straight JavaScript in from this. And let's see, where is that one? It's in here somewhere. No library, it's pure JavaScript, okay, which is really nice. And in that case, you also want to make sure that you choose to have that in the header of the HTML that it creates. Now, when you're using jQuery, jQuery actually does execute on load. It wants to go ahead and execute so that it can run the jQuery commands. Well, the first part of putting together this little equation calculator is pretty straightforward. I simply write the HTML. I have 3 input boxes that are type of text for the 3 A, B, and C. Then I have 2 more, one for xmin and one for xmax, and I actually populate those with the value. Okay. Then, so everything else here is pretty much the JavaScript necessary to process this. I also did not embed this within form tags because I'm not really submitting the information somewhere else. I'm not submitting it to another page, or I'm not causing a refresh of the existing screen, so it's not posting it back to anywhere. The final thing is this input button with the ID calculate, and down here I've actually got a paragraph with the ID output here that's right now blank. It's a paragraph. That's where I'm going to put the output that you saw there. Alright, so since this is in jQuery, the first thing that I want to do here, outside of any of the functions, is I want to go ahead and set up what's going to happen. So what I do is I take the selector here, and the selector is selecting the calculate button, which has the ID calculate, so that's the pound calculate, and it's doing the dot click, so it's assigning to the click the function calculate. Well, let's go up and look and see what that function says. This is the function calculate. The real actual calculation of the quadratic equation is over here in calculate y, where I just return ax squared plus bx plus c. But the calculate function has to pull the values and actually do something with the values. So if you look up here, you'll see that value of a, okay, variable a, I define a variable, and that defined variable is going to be accessed by the selector of pound a because it has an ID, and I do the .val function that returns the value within it if it's a text box, and I have this thing here that says number. The number will convert the returned text to a number. That's just a known JavaScript function that's built in the JavaScript math library called number. So essentially, I'm going to get all of them. So I want you to understand what I did here. Pound, this portion right here, the pound A with the $ in the parentheses, is the actual text box. .val returns the value that's input into the text box. That's a jQuery function. And number converts it to a number. So all I had to do to convert all these to numbers is to do the same thing, and then just basically reference them by their ID. 2 other variables I have here, x and y, and then another variable down here which is s. X and Y are set to be equal to numbers, and S I actually created as a string. And I can create them as numbers simply by setting them originally equal to 0, and S equal to a blank string. So if I look at this blank string, the first thing I do is I write Y equals AX squared plus BX plus C, which is what you see over here. You can see the actual values of the quadratic equation. Then I do a for loop. In the for loop, I start with the value of X being X min, go up to X max, and I increment it by a value of 1 each time. So I calculate Y by Y equals calculate Y. Remember good old calculate Y, it calculates the quadratic equation up here. And then I take this variable, this string variable S, and plus equals, basically appends to S, X equals the value of X, Y equals the value of Y, and then a line break so that you see each of the values down here. Then I need to put it inside of my paragraph. Well, the paragraph has the ID of output. Okay, so all I have to do that is output.innerHTML is equal to S, and it will set the inner HTML of that paragraph equal to S. And notice that in this case, I just did a straight reference of it by its name. So I've shown you a couple ways of referencing things, one using the jQuery, one by just simply using the object as it stood there. And you could have, by the way, done that up here too with the values of the A, B, C, D, or the A, B, C, X min, and X max. But I was able to show you two different ways of referencing this. So when I put everything together, I now have this nice little calculator here where I can input any value to a quadratic equation. And let's say 7, and I go from 1, let's say this time I'll only go to 1 from 5, and you can see that from 1 to 5 it did the calculation, and if you check it you'll see that it's correct. Very nice, straightforward, easy to do calculator to pull variables out. Now in the future I'm going to show you some other things you can do with these types of calculator functions, but this should get you started with the concept of creating a calculator on a website using JavaScript, which is, by the way, one of the assignments that you'll see in my classes. Thanks. Hopefully this is very helpful and good programming.